Right, we're just going down to the underground museum under the cathedral and looking down up at the Dutch Ladder flag and the British flag. Some of the soldiers. Even down to the German soldiers as well. Sailors, New Zealand. Again, we've got the shells up on the wall. Yeah. Is there lots in there? Okay.
Approaching Albert, you can't miss the Basilica Notre-Dame de Bruguière in its neo-Byzantine style. It was hit by German artillery fire in January 1915, when an explosion dislodged the statue of Mary and Jesus, leaving them hanging over the town centre. From then on, it was known as the Leaning Virgin. The entrance to the museum is alongside the basilica. The museum is situated in a tunnel that dates back from the Middle Ages and that was converted into an air raid shelter in 1938. This factory is still in production today, making the cockpits for Airbus passenger jets. Following its closure as an air raid shelter after the liberation of 1944, the tunnel remained closed until 1992, when it was reopened as a museum. Now called the Museum Somme 1916, it tells the story of the Battle of the Somme and retraces the life of the soldiers during the First World War. All along its 250-meter passage, you will discover scenes representing soldiers in action, reconstructed trenches and shelters. Coming out of the passage, you will arrive at our boutique, where you will have the opportunity to purchase books and souvenirs of the area. The exit leads to Albert Public Gardens and the River Ancre. The town centre is only a minute away and very well signposted. On the 1st of July 1916, a few minutes before the assault of the infantry, several mines aiming at breaking the German first line exploded. The result of one of these explosions can be seen in La Boisselle at the Lobnagar crater. At 7:28 at this particular spot, a huge mine was detonated under the German first line. Using 24 tons of explosive, the blast threw the earth 4,000 feet into the air. The German line was destroyed, as were several nearby shelters, but La Boisselle was not captured until the 4th of July. The crater left by the explosion is 30 meters deep and 90 meters wide. Pozières was a village which had a very strong German defensive line and had to be taken in order to advance toward Mouquet Farm and Thiepval Ridge. This objective was given to Australian troops. This monument is dedicated to the 1st Australian Division. The links between Crozier and Australia are so strong that several Australian communities adopted the name after the war. The German second line ran through the village of Pozières, where the foundations of a German blockhouse are still visible. This position, originally standing 3 meters high, was a heavily reinforced observation post that gave the Germans a clear view up to their own front line and beyond into Allied territory. The village had to be taken in order to open ways towards Mouquet Farm and Thiepval Ridge. This objective was given to troops of the Australian Imperial Force. Opposite the remains of the blockhouse, there is a memorial to the 1st Australian Division. Tanks were first deployed on the battlefield on the 15th of September 1916. Of the 32 British Mark I tanks which were used on that day on the Courcelette-Thiepval line, only 9 reached their objective. This monument is an obelisk made of stone, flanked with the model of 4 bronze tanks used between 1916 and 1918. The Ulster Tower commemorates the 5,500 casualties suffered by the 36th Division on the first day of the Battle of the Somme, along with the division's losses elsewhere on the Western Front. The 36th Irish Division's objectives on the 1st of July were the Schwaben Redoubt and Beaucourt Station, and while the station was not taken, the Schwaben Redoubt did initially fall to the Irish troops. However, the failure of the attack on either flank resulted in the 36th Division men coming under increasing pressure with numerous counterattacks launched against them. Enfilade fire from the uncaptured village of Thiepval prevented supplies and reinforcements from reaching them, and by the evening their position had become untenable. The position was evacuated the following day. The tower was erected in 1921 and is a replica of Helens Tower, sited on the former training ground of the 36th Division near Belfast. Thiepval Ridge, its village and its now vanished chateau, together with the village of Saint-Pierre-d'Ivion, were the stronghold of the German defence on the northern side of the British sector. This natural fortress was protected at its base by the marshes of the River Anger and by deep and numerous German dugouts. It was part of the Leipzig salient and was, on the 1st of July, one of the sites of the biggest disasters of the British left flank. To commemorate this great loss, as well as the casualties of the Battle of the Somme between July 1915 and March 1918, the British government decided to erect a huge monument, the Monument of the Missing, which was completed in 1932. Its 16 pillars bear the names of more than 72,000 British and South African soldiers whose bodies have no known grave. It can be seen from miles around. Bourg Hamel is one of the only places in the Somme where you can walk in the trenches. This preserved portion of battlefield was, on the 1st of July, the site of one of the deadliest battles of the Somme offensive. On that day, at 9:15 in the morning, 800 soldiers from the Newfoundland Regiment went over the top. Half an hour later, only 68 were still standing. South of the salient of Fricourt, the 7th British Division took Mamet on the 1st of July 1916 in the afternoon. But the name of Mamet is mostly linked with the wood situated in the northwest. This was a key position of German resistance and was preventing all progression to the east. It fell almost entirely in the hands of the 38th Welsh Division on the 12th of July 1916, after 8 days of fierce fighting and at the cost of many lives. The memorial to the Welsh Division is enhanced with the statue of a dragon, the emblem of Wales. Delville Wood is the name given to a wood in the village of Longueval. The recapture of the wood was to be the baptism of fire of the South Africans on the Western Front, from the 15th to the 20th of July 1916. Caught under violent artillery fire of up to 400 rounds a minute, barely protected from their hastily built shelters, isolated from their own support, they went through hell. When the relief troops took over, from the 3,200 men that formed the brigade, only 143 of those deployed walked out unwounded. Its bronze statue represents Castor and Pollux, symbol of the South African people. The museum built around the Voortrekker Cross and situated at the back of the monument was inaugurated in 1986 and is a replica of a Cape fort. Stands the last tree of Delville Wood, the only survivor of the 1916 battle. The village and surrounding areas figure strongly in Australian history. On the 4th of July 1918, Australian and American units under General Monash launched an attack which coordinated infantry, tanks, aviation and artillery in a way never seen before. white stone with a cemetery in the foreground is composed of a high central tower linked to two pavilions by simple walls on which are inscribed the names of soldiers with no known graves. The name of this large village entered history on the 24th of April 1918, when Australian troops finally recaptured the village.
I've seen that plane thing on there. We're underneath the church itself, the museum, some of the artefacts. Our favourite, the stick bomb. These are German relics, what they've actually found out. There's a British one. Boots. Australian leathers. A gun. A bayonet. British helmet. Cornet. French grenade. Shells. Can you get one out, Ron?
Yeah, sure.
We were talking yesterday about this decorative that they put on side of the bomb shells before they shot them. We said they wouldn't shoot, but it proves here they must have done. Shot shell, and of course on the boot, so you have to get a bit further in. You get the Britannia, of course, your date of it, and a tag. The Britannia, oops, a bit too much. Britannia shilling is Britannia penny is 1916, and of course we've got the British grenade. Watches. Pouch, and then go again to another English gun. Type of shoe, something maybe a shoe that probably used to get the messages through. One of the other fighting implements, if you got your gun, no bayonet on, you can use the club. All British. And of course you've got the water cans, you can see bullet marks through them. Right, looking in the shot where the Germans were preparing the guns and bayonets. Probably just after the shelling. You can see it dug deep. Better conditions. Machine guns. German Maxim, the French one, and then the Vickers British one. Then down to the heavy stuff. Grenade launcher, Belgium, and then you've got obviously different mortar, another mortar type of rocket, a mortar launcher, and they're so fantastic how they built catapults and everything else to fire the stuff. These are French at the back. And then of course they're the heads to screw on into the bomb. Lots of different rifles all around the world. The French, and the Portuguese French Highland. Shells, bullets, the British rifles. If you notice that the Yankees have got a small one, the Germans again, long ones. Looking into another hobby, trench. Looks like the corporal is very happy, smiling. French. Of course, at the back, one. It was the guy in charge. He sits there at the table with his dinner on his plate and a glass of wine. Looking at some of the photographs of the trenches of the British. You got the top brass now going into the bunker out of the way. The whistles used on the Somme. And then obviously the range came, it showed you how bad it was with mud. And then of course you see the captain reading orders out, what's happening. The guy at the front, he doesn't seem to be bothered one little bit. This was funny, somebody throwing grenades up in the air, and it's saying underneath, keeping his hands in. Blades. Machetes. Gurkha knives. Like the French jabbers, sword, hierarchy man, and then you come down to the French bayonets, still round. And of course we've got the Pioneer German one with teeth. 1898, one of the first ones. British handguns, German Lugers, French revolver, and then the pilot gun, one shot. First drafts of the West Islanders. That's the funny one where he goes down in the bucket. Was it punishment or was he having a wash?
It tells you the truth.
No. trench warfare things. The flare gun, monikers, also binoculars. There's a rangefinder at the back. Telephone communications. Of course, postcode flashlights.
There already. This is a new tower there, just a replica of the one in Belfast.
Again, there's grenades. All-hand throwing grenade. Devices at the back. Fire ones. All grenade. The grenade fire gun at the back. This explains a bit more about the shells. Then you got the shrapnel one, all the pieces that used to fire over top of the trench and then just explode. And then it always goes down to the weight of the explosive device that's on the tops. And then of course you've got another shrapnel, German one, 105mm. And it shows you in the top balls and pellets, bricks, anything that's round they used to pack them in. There you go. And then of course the German shrapnel, 105 case. And they got a 60-pounder. All British 13-pounder, 18-pounder. Bomb detonators, spanner, rangefinders, we are looking at the pipe bomb gun. I don't like to see that, the donkeys. Shows you in the trenches with the mud. Injured pickabacks. And then when the British started putting lats into the bottom of the trench. Trench tank. Shells are used to fire out. The bullets from his gun. And then we've got an anti-tank rifle, the length of it. A long way. French tank driver helmet. Heat smoke out his eyes and dust out of his nose. Looking at the drive levers, there's only 2 pulley bars and the gear stick. A bit later on today we're up to the tank museum, so we'll get probably a better picture of this. All through barbed wire. German to cut through, shovels and hooks. Every museum will go to the old hats and guns. I'm sure they can give me a German helmet. Won't go missing. French, Belgian and English. French and French gas mask. This looks like people that swim wrong. They've got a ration book, accident book, handcuffs for the deserters, a club that was abused. Again, whistles, officers,
hetzelfde liedje, de destination van hetzelfde de bestemming. Ja. Zij zijn volgens mij. Maar maak zo flat. Ik vind het ook veel leuker. Ja. Vooral bij de verhalen mijn kant.
Compass.
Hetzelfde liedje destination zijn. Bijvoorbeeld dan komt het ook uit. Dat is dan weer om die
Web.
te halen. Dat is ik ook wat denken. Dat is ook
Nog wel lastig hoor.
ja, maakt niet makkelijk.
Got the pump there, you see, for the water. Right, we're now getting to the interesting part. There's the guy with the football. I do believe when they kicked the balls over the trench, the men had to run to that ball to kick it on to the next part, so they run on to there as well, so they don't stop. That's in the trench of the Somme. The Australians with their mortar shells, the clubs on the wall for fighting hand to hand instead of the bayonet, just knock the head off and then hit the heads, and then they got the
Resting station.
charge men at the back end. Makes you want to feel dead, wouldn't it? If you was living in these conditions. A little bit gory this is. It's the hospital. Casualty part. See, yeah, the doctor's there working away, his utensils. He's had to take his hands off. And at the back you see another wounded soldier bringing another soldier in. Just looking down, he's got little strips of morphine. Shows you in the trench again with gas mask on. Of course, you've got a rattle there. You can see that it was all clear to take your mask off. Right, looking at the Red Baron. Of course, there's his medal that he used to fly and wear. It's tri-blade. But it's like the normal two-wing. Again is Luger. He used to kill themselves instead of jumping out. And the guns off his actual plane. This one. It's like a flywheel. And of course the Vickers gun on the aircraft. Albert Hall would have actually used. These pilots used to fly probably 3 sorties a day. and they must have been very, very tired and cold. Siege in the house. All the nuns, the medals that they got with casualties that was brought here underground during the First World War. Now we're going on to how to get messages back, pigeons, size of the ocean, really big horses, big strong ones. Medina, Mary, and Jesus, on the cathedral that we're under now. Let's show through this man.
I thought we were shooting at you.
I think we can show me actually.
So I didn't think you could move that quick.
I'm going to watch this bit. Alright.
Just chill.
Right, I'm going to keep my eyes shut where I am.
Okay. Put your hand on my shoulder.
Grief.
What do you think when you open the door?
I looked at him and went, fucking hell, I can't go down there. I was thinking about going back.
Yeah.
It was in there, didn't pray. It's just a pity that there's not nothing that we know. Hague. Did he die in 92? Bush died in 1988. He was old one, he did the Who's a Neville? Albert Bull.
No, that's out of the ball.
Bull, yes. You know, yes. I saw it after. Where it's about the thingy. It looks like a resistance factory does.
No rush to do anything or go anywhere when you get that door.
I say this is one of the best museums we've actually been in, including all the tapestries. I don't want to do them all, but it was good. Go all this way, and then we'll end up with the Scottish band, the band of the MacDonalds. Here we are at Cambrai, looking at one of the tanks. Looks fierce, so we're just going to go down and have a closer look. Which is front and which is back? This is the back, isn't it? At front. Yeah. Again, Vickers gun that have been used, and then the mortar bombs that's in front. And this will be the officer in charge, his compass. And again, that white netted across the face, so he didn't breathe any dust in. And then you got the eye slits. It must have been really uncomfortable to have this type of uniform on. We've got the tools of the tank itself. Everything's got to be, well, tools, you know, they've got to have in your boot. This must have been really big spanners, crankshaft, oil and grease. And then you can see a gasoline bottle there that's got actually 2 holes in.
du Commonwealth et on est présent dans plus de 150 pays. Le but, c'est de commémorer chaque soldat à un stèle, si c'est possible. Et si cela n'est pas possible, on les commémore sur un mémorial de l'histoire. Ici, à Bougainval, le mémorial de André commémore plus de 7000 soldats. Alors, l'entretien de nos sites se fait de génération en génération. On a un cahier des charges assez serré quand même, l'occasion d'être rendu tous les 7 jours à une certaine hauteur. Imaginez 994 terrains de foot qu'il faut tondre toutes les semaines.
Again, this was dug up not far from where they found the tank, a pair of boots, and of course the English helmet there that's either got hit or it's probably rusted away. Robert McDonald, who was a tank driver, or worked within the tank. Walter Robinson, David Murdson, William Garway, Joseph Chitterton, George Foote, Frank Heap, Frederick Tiplin, and of course this is the site that they left on the floor, empty cartridges.